How much hair are you going to lose? This is a very big question in planning for hair restoration procedures, especially when you're thinking about getting a hair transplantation. Now, I can tell you this, it's actually hard for me to tell you how much hair you actually will use, but I can tell you which hairs are at risk, and if you live long enough, what's the likelihood of your final endpoint. Now, I do this with my fingers, because I have a lot of experience. I can feel the thickness of your hairs, and I can feel the thickness drop off at some point here, which I call the transition line. I can also do this by looking at your hairs because the color density of the hairs will also drop off as they start to thin. So you'll see people with dark brown hairs, a little bit of lighter brown hairs up here. Lastly, you can use a camera to do this, to look at the hairs as they're coming out of scalp, something called trichoscopy, to see where the progressive thinning is becoming. Why don't you do this at home? Feel along the sides of your scalp here, and then take your fingers and move up, and you will feel a transition point. You can see on myself, it's right here. I can also do in the front. It's right here. It's right here. So I can feel this line going, and this is my transition point. This is the area of which I could lose hair in the future, possibly. However, if I use medications and I'm responsive to them, I may never get to that point. But it's really important for me as a hair transplant surgeon to know where this could possibly end up. Because as we draw the lines for your hairline and your crown, we want to make sure that the present connects into the future. If I dip my head down, I don't know if you can see, but I'm thinning out here. And I had a transplant in the front here, pretty strong, and I actually have thinning on the top. You can see this thinning go all the way down as it comes to this side. I can see it here, but I can see it less so here. It's really important when I start applying the medications at home, dutasteride and minoxidil, I go all the way down to the side because I have the best chance of protecting these hairs. When we do ACS therapies, we also make sure we hit these areas up, even though they don't seem like they're in the area of direct need, but they are. So you potentially could lose all that hair in your life, but you have the chance of protecting yourself from getting there. When we're doing a transplantation, it's very important to predict the worst case scenario, and that's why we do this. But yeah, most people will find out that they're going to lose, that they could lose a lot more than they actually do. What's another thing you can take into consideration is how old are you right now? Are you 55 years old and all you have is a little crown here, but you can feel thinning onto the sides here? Well, at 55, all you have this little spot. It's unlikely you're going to progress to full hair loss during your life. However, if you're 30 years old and you have a significant amount of loss, and you feel like there's more loss happening on the sides, you definitely better get on top of protecting yourself from that future thinning, or when you get a hair transplant, making sure that the transplant carries all the way over to that spot.